Alright guys, so we just started a fresh brand new world for the series, so let's get straight into some cozy but scary Reddit stories. My girlfriend talks in her sleep. At first it was cute and hilarious to tell her what she said. It was harmless nonsense. The sky is folding, or we need to raise the ground. We talked the next day about if she remembered a dream, but she never did. I wish I knew what she meant by we need to raise the ground. Some context. Our nightly routine is for us to start out cuddling and then give up once it gets too hot. Then we're usually both on our sides back to back. She would fall asleep before I do, and so I would hear the full range of nightly musings. Honestly, at first I was eager to hear what she said. It was always funny to tell her and our friends what she would say while deep in the throes of REM, but now I'm done. I prefer she not talk anymore. How am I going to sleep after what happened last night? Last night around 11 p.m, she was asleep and I was still up reading. Back to back, I hear her mumble something under her breath. I couldn't quite make out what she said, but I lean over from my book to peek at her face and she's sleeping soundly. I return to my book, get absorbed back into its pages. At some point I fall asleep. Next thing I know, I'm woken up by my girlfriend talking at full volume. I open my eyes and at some point in the night both of us have turned face to face. My girlfriend's eyes are wide open. She's staring right at me, mere inches from my face. But her eyes, those are the eyes I fell in love with, and right now they are scaring the absolute piss out of me. My heart rate skyrockets, and chock full of adrenaline I throw off the covers and jump out of bed. Looking at her, her eyes follow me like a painting, but her body stays still. For 1 second I decided that my book light was keeping her awake, and what she said was, "Can you turn that off please?" Now out of bed, I'm looking at her. She's not right. Her body hasn't moved, but her eyes dart from looking at me to looking around the room. I dare to ask her, "Are you alright?" No response. Those eyes look at me when I speak though. They are now deadlocked, looking right into my eyes. Her breathing hasn't changed. That is sleep breathing for sure. That's when, looking right at me, she says in a deep voice, "Come back to bed, dearie." My girlfriend has never called me dearie before. We have pet names, sure, but they range from pumpkin to cupcake. Dearie sounds like something my grandmother would call me. I'm about to nope out of the room when her eyes roll back into her head. The white from those eyes stand out in the dim radiance of the book light. No pupils in sight. She insists, of course, I'm awake, come back to bed. She subtly taps her fingers. I'm starting to come around. She's never sleepwalked before. Surely she's awake now, if she's moving her hands. But looking at her fingers, it's as if she's pretending to have control. They're going in different directions. One finger straight down, the other to the side. Those hands are not my girlfriend's hands. They are simulating normal movement as best as they can. I say, "I'm going to get a drink of water. Be right back. Can I get you anything?" Fully planning on running out the house the moment I'm over the threshold. But my normally agreeable and sweet girlfriend decides I'm not allowed to leave. "As serious as cancer," she says, in that deep voice. "Take one step out of that door and I'll rip out your throat." Shocked, but understanding the importance of not letting this beast know I'm in trouble, I reply, "As interesting as a proposition as that is, I think I'm going to." And quickly I grab my water bottle from the nightstand. This does not please my girlfriend as she decides to start screaming. It's a supernatural scream, so high-pitched and bird-like I feel as though my neighbours 3 houses down are going to ask us if they heard anything last night. As fast as I can muster, I unscrew the lid and douse her in water. Like I knew what I was doing, her eyes close and she goes back to sleep. I'm going to sleep on the couch for a while, maybe forever. She'll understand when she's awake. So I actually sleepwalk a bit myself and I've definitely done some weird stuff, but this story, I don't know. What do we think? Put it in the comments if you think it's real. So this next story is about a bit of a disturbing conversation this guy had with his 7-year-old daughter. Dad, I saw a zombie. I was in the kitchen making tea when my little girl came rushing in. She ran through the back door so fast she almost tripped up the step. I poured boiling water from the kettle into a mug, hardly looking up. Oh yeah? Yeah, I did. Its face was all pale and messed up. It was gross. I put the kettle back on and picked up the milk, sighed inwardly. I really had to be more careful about what I watched on the TV in the evening. Rosie has a bit of a habit sneaking downstairs in the night, and last night she caught me watching The Walking Dead of all things. She's had zombies on the brain ever since. I keep telling her they're not real, but it doesn't seem to make a difference. Sweetheart, what do we say about zombies? I scooped the tea bag up out of the mug and dumped it into the bin. You know if you keep talking about them, Daddy's going to get in trouble with Mummy again. Yeah, but I saw one. I know, darling, but I've already checked the back garden twice yesterday and I can promise you it's zombie-free. No, not in the back garden. I didn't see it in the back garden. I had a mug half raised to my lips, but now I put it down again. I turned to look at Rosie. Her hair was windswept, and her little cheeks were so red as if she'd been running. Sweetheart, I put on my best stern Dad's not happy voice. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with me. Have you been playing along the path out back again? I didn't really need to ask that question, because I already knew the answer. Rosie is allowed to play in the garden on her own, and sometimes, if she asks us permission first, we let her ride a bike along the path at the back of our house. The one that runs past all the neighbours' back gardens. But that's all we allow her to do. This area is pretty safe, but these days you can never be too careful. There was a burglary a couple of roads over a few months back. And last year someone was mugged on the high street. Several years ago, a few towns over, a little boy even went missing. That was quite a long way from here, of course, but it made national news for a day or two. And it made a lot of parents more cautious. Rosie's getting older now, and she's a little adventurous girl, but still, you have to have boundaries. And on a few occasions lately, Rosie's been crossing those boundaries, riding a bike further than she should, not coming back straight away when we call her in, sneaking out the back gate when she's only meant to be playing in the garden. As I watch Rosie now, I noticed the face growing older. As I watch Rosie now, I noticed her face growing redder. She looked away from me, down at the kitchen floor, and scuffed her feet. Dad, I only went a little way down, she said. I promise. I wasn't chatting to Mr. Henderson because I saw him in the back garden. I said hello and made him jump. I sighed. So there it was, Mr. Henderson was the zombie. Yesterday it was a postman, and the day before that it was a different neighbour. I took a sip of tea and shook my head. Mr. Henderson was, in fairness, a better candidate than the others. The guy lives on his own and he looks about 100 years old. Moles all over his face, skin like a deflated balloon. Whenever we'd been chatting over the garden fence, he'd always seemed nice though, just a bit lonely. I couldn't have Rosie going around calling him a zombie. Listen to me, sweetheart. I know you didn't go far or anything, but I don't want you... I came right back to you, Rosie interrupted. She was staring up at me now. Blue eyes, large and pleading. I promise, and I even said no when Mr. Henderson offered me an ice cream, because I know you don't like me taking stuff from strangers. I opened my mouth to respond, then paused. He offered you ice cream? Yeah, but I said no. Mr. Henderson really wanted me to come in and have one, but I told him I had to go home. And then I came straight back to tell you I'd seen a zombie, and Rosie was babbling now, her voice whirling like a motor. But I'd stopped listening. My mind was stuck on something that she said moments before. Mr. Henderson really wanted me to come in and have one. I took another sip of tea and frowned. That wasn't good. I didn't mind the neighbours chatting to my little girl, but I didn't like the thought of them inviting her in, not without us there. Not even if they just were kind, lonely old men. But I made up my mind to go around and visit Mr. Henderson later and tell him myself, kindly, of course, but firmly. In the end, though, I didn't get a chance, because a few moments after that, I'd had a thought. Rosie said something else. Something that pushed everything else from my mind and ended any idea that I might have been going over to Mr. Henderson's house. She said something that made me feel cold. Daddy, please don't stop me going to the garden. I promise I won't sneak out again. I don't want the zombie to get me. Rosie, I'm not going to stop you playing in the garden. But you have to make a couple of promises too. First, promise me you'll stop going around calling people zombies. Mr. Henderson might be old, but he's not one of the living dead. Rosie frowned. I didn't. What do you mean you didn't? You just ran here a moment ago calling him one. No, I didn't. Mr. Henderson's not a zombie. I saw a zombie in his house, but it wasn't him. I frowned. I had a mug raised to my lips and taken another sip, but now I put it down again. What do you mean? You saw someone else in the house? Yeah, the zombie. I could see it pressed against a little basement window when I was talking to him. A cold shiver ran up my spine. What? Yeah, it was really scary. Its face was all bashed in and bloody. Its mouth was open, like it's screaming at me. But do you know what confused me the most? I tried to keep my voice steady. What? Well, I didn't realise kids could be zombies too. I thought it was only grown-ups. But I guess that must have been wrong, because Mr. Henderson had one looking in a basement that looked just like a little boy. Yeah, I think we kind of know the reality of that story. It might have been a little bit of an Epstein situation there. So this next story kind of reminds me of that new show on Netflix. It's called Something Very Bad Is About to Happen. But yeah, it's about this woman who claims that every woman in her family dies at the age of 27. So my dad always wanted a son, and he got 3 daughters instead. He hated all of us. Hated my twin sisters, hated my mother. But he hated me the most, all because I was the last child my mother had before she died. That didn't stop him treating me like his own little boy. Didn't stop him from attempting to beat the hatred out of my own gender into me. Quit crying, he'd snap. End up like your mother. After years of that, he was shocked I grew up as a tomboy. I think he hated that even more because I was just a constant reminder of what he'd never got to have. My mother died when she was only 27, when I was 4. The coroner ruled her death as a natural passing, some weird heart complication that took her in her sleep. My dad, though, says it was because of a family's curse. Whenever I came to him, desperate for more information about my mother, I never really knew. He never had much to say. I'm convinced he was just drunk since the day she died. Every woman in her damn family, they die when they're 27. He'd sputter in between belches, his breath reeking of stale beer. I think the real curse is that my mum was the one to die and not him. I wasn't fully convinced by the ramblings of a perpetually drunk man, but when I lost both my sisters in just months before their 28th birthday, I knew it couldn't be a coincidence. Moria was found murdered, her face practically blasted off by a shooter while she was on a jog. Joy took her own life only days later. I was the one who found her, hanging in a bedroom of her apartment as I came to pick her up for Maura's funeral. She'd been there, swinging from the rafters all night. It's hard to live a normal life when you know you have an expiration date, especially when it encompasses an entire year. I had dreaded my birthday, which from an early age became associated less with fun and a birthday cake and more with worrying funeral caskets. But once Moria and Joy died, my next birthday, 25, was the most dreadful day of my life. 26 was worse, 27 was unimaginable. This is it, I thought, as I closed the blinds to my apartment, down in the last drop of vodka in my bottle. This is the last year of my life. 27 has been uneventful, to say the least. Why would I make any long-term plans, forge any meaningful relationships, when I know I can simply not last? The worst part of this last year has been simply not knowing when my impending death is coming. It could have been any day within the last 364. It could have been the next minute. I must admit, I've become something of a recluse. My windows always shuttered, additional locks installed on my door, letting my phone ring through to voicemail, hiding under my covers with the lights on whenever I get a knock on the door. I stocked up on preserved foods and various goods that I would need to last a year. I was so paranoid that even my mail slot, stuffed with a towel in the space between my door. I didn't want anything getting in from the outside world. God forbid, an anthrax letter. Falling off the face of the earth didn't matter much anyway. I didn't have friends or family anymore. My mother and both of my sisters were dead, and my dad disowned me when I came out as a lesbian after my sisters died. I moved away and severed contact soon after. The night before my 27th birthday, I started getting these strange phone calls from a blocked number. I'd always had anxiety about phone calls, so I just let it ring. The number kept calling, at least once a day throughout the past year. Then the knocking started, once a week at first, but only got worse, more frequent, and then the pounding on my door more frantic each time. Convinced it had something to do with my inevitable death, I've been driven mad by the unknown visitor, especially over the last week. I got ready for bed last night, knowing that tomorrow, today, now, is the day that I'll turn 28. My time had run out, and I searched for a little comfort in a bottle of liquor. I didn't find it though. I fell into bed, drunk and delirious, and prayed the morning wouldn't come, though I knew it would. I eventually got to sleep, but it was restless and unsatisfying. The kind of sleep where you feel like you have one eye open, always watching. That's why I was quick to wake up when the door to my bedroom creaked open early in the morning. Before the first sign of light, I shot up in my bed, glancing around my room in a frenzied panic. At first seeing nothing out of the ordinary other than the door pushed slightly ajar. A closer look revealed something I missed, something that sent my heart racing, froze to my core. Two dark figures stood in the empty space behind the half-open door, unmoving, almost like a pair of statues. Waiting, watching, wordless. Leave me alone," I squeaked, unable to move, paralyzed in the power of their presence. The shadowy figures, instead, scuffled out of the room behind the door, creeping slowly towards me in the dark. I knew this would certainly be the end, the fulfillment of my curse, if I didn't act. Suddenly, recalling the self-defense methods I drilled into my mind, I flipped my bedside lamp to stun the intruders and reached underneath the table to pull a knife I'd duct taped a year ago. A 27th birthday gift to myself. As soon as the light flooded the room though, I knew the blade would be of no use. My intruders were not a pair of assassins, not human ones at least. In the yellow light of the lamp, I discerned the identities of the dark figures. They were my sisters. Joy stood at the front of my bed, pale, in the same conservative black dress I'd found her in dead years ago. The one she had picked out to Mauria's funeral. Her head hung parallel to her shoulders, neck grotesquely bent from her hanging. Moria was a few steps behind. I could only assume it was her, considering the severity of her injuries. She suffered a gunshot wound to the head, so brutal that we were not allowed to see her after the death, so intense that she'd been entirely disfigured in her face. The lower half of her face had been reduced to a pit of gore, her jawbone barely attached on one side, her mouth mangled, with only several teeth remaining, studded randomly throughout the mess. "Why are you here?" I cried, gathering my knees to my chest and holding them tight. Are you here to take me?" Jory made a feeble attempt to shake her head, the side of her face only brushing weakly against the shoulder. She waited several moments before putting one of her feet in front of the other, moving towards my side of the bed. As I recoiled instinctively, she slowed her pace. Moria trailed after her, and they were both beside me. I whimpered as Joy leaned over me, her head flopping forward suddenly with the motion, neck cracking. Her lips brushing against my ear, she whispered, "She tried. She tried." Her speech was laboured and wheezing, as if her vocal cords had nearly been shredded. "What do you mean?" I pleaded. Her lips moved against my ear once more, but no sound came out despite the clear, strenuous effort. Moria waged an attempt at answering my query, but only succeeded in spluttering blood from the gaping wound in her face, ejecting one of those remaining teeth onto the floor as her jawbone swung. Barely hanging on, she raised one hand, slowly curling it into a fist before striking her knuckles furious against my bedpost. The incessant sounds startled me. I forced my eyes shut tight and pulled my knees even closer to my chest. Moria's knocking seemed to only escalate in volume. She seemed to go on forever until finally it stopped. I cracked my eyes open to find both my sisters had vanished, that the light of the early morning had begun to spill through my blinds. It was just 6 o'clock, the 7th of June, the day of my 28th birthday. I was born at 9:26 a.m. Once I learned of the curse, I buried the time of my ultimate expiration into my mind. I only had 3 hours and 16 minutes left to live, if that long at all. Draping my covers over my head, I resolved to spend the rest of my life asleep. I figured I'd rather pass peacefully in my sleep like my mother did than to suffer a fate similar to my sister's. My plans were interrupted, however, by that damn door knocking. The interruption usually didn't come from so early in the morning. I decided to initially ignore the strange visitor, but pulled the blankets down soon as a certain sense of familiarity struck me. The pounding on the door reminded me all too much of Moria's knocking just moments before. It easily could have been a trick of the curse, but something compelled me to approach the door. "What do you want?" I called from behind the barrier, clinging to the relative safety it provided. The reply came from an unfamiliar man's voice. "I just have a letter for you, miss." "Just slide it under the door, please." I returned, using my bare foot to remove the towel I had just blocked the small space underneath. He deposited a bright yellow envelope under the door as I requested. I waited for the sounds of receding footsteps before sliding on a pair of gloves to handle the letter. It was addressed to me, simply by first name and with no address. Carefully, I unsealed the envelope to reveal a birthday card. I hadn't received one in years. Bright sparkling letters on the front formed the words, "Daughter, you're 27. I scoffed at the sick joke. I hadn't received a birthday card since I was a child. My dad couldn't even get my birthday right. I didn't even think he knew my address. I cracked it open gingerly to read the message inside. "Laura, if you're reading this, your father has killed me. Don't believe a thing he or the police say. I was not the target of a random attack. I did not die of natural causes, and I certainly did not commit suicide. I would never leave you if I had the choice. The truth is, I died because I found the truth behind my family's curse and foolishly told your father. He was in on it the whole time, planted in my life by some secret society to eradicate me, to eradicate us. What we have is not a curse, it's a gift of immense power. The power to heal, but the power to harm just the same. We come into our power at the age of 28, a number associated with independence, leadership, and self-sufficiency. An age where we can handle the responsibility of such power that inevitably comes with. An age we can handle responsibility such power inevitably comes with. It's a strong number, and you will come into great strength, though you've always been a strong girl. I hope you made it this far, but at the same time, I know you have. You were always a little feisty girl from the 4 years I had the pleasure of knowing you, of loving you. You never let anyone tell you what to do or think, especially not your father. Happy birthday, Mom." I closed the card softly, thinking on the strained words of my sister. Mum had tried to warn them, But they didn't listen. The pieces of the puzzle slid into place. My dad must have murdered Moria, and Joy ended her own life out of grief, and a belief that she would inevitably be next. At the time of writing this, I only have 2 hours and 32 minutes until I officially turn 28. Over the past hour or so, I've begun to feel the power flowing into my body, electrifying as it runs through my veins. I need to keep myself safe until 9:26. After all, I'm planning on surprising my father with a visit for my birthday. So this final story is about some person who finds their childhood voice recorder and it's got some weird stuff on it. When I was 8, my dad bought me one of those cheap little voice recorders from Radio Shack. I used it for everything. I recorded myself singing commercial jingles. I recorded my mum telling me to stop recording her. I recorded my dad snoring on the couch and played it back at full volume. After my parents divorced, I used it differently. I started recording in my room at night. Not because I believed in ghosts, not at first. I did it because I was waking up with the feeling that someone had just been talking to me. Not a dream voice. Not my mum calling me from the hallway. A whisper right behind my ear. Every morning I would check the recorder. Most nights it was nothing. Then, October 14th, 2007, I caught it. At first, it was just the sound of me breathing. The little plastic recorder made everything tinny and sound like it was far away, like I was listening at the bottom of a well. Then my mattress creaked. I heard myself shift in bed, and then a voice said, "Not yet." It was soft, female, close to the microphone. I screamed so loudly my mum thought I hurt myself. She listened to the recording twice. The first time, her face went pale. The second time, she said it was probably a radio signal from one of my toys. The next day, the recorder disappeared. I assumed she threw it away. I was wrong. My mum died 3 months ago. I've been cleaning out a house slowly because grief is weird. Some days I can throw away whole boxes. Some days I find a grocery list in a handbag and lose an hour sitting on the floor. Last night I found the voice recorder in a shoebox in the back of a closet. It was wrapped in 3 dish towels and duct tape. There was a sticky note on top. In my mum's handwriting it said, "Do not play last file," which obviously meant I played every file except the last one. Most are exactly what I remembered. Me singing, me laughing, my dad pretending to be a monster, and then the October 14th file. My breathing, the mattress creak, that soft voice. I sat in my mum's bedroom with the recorder in my hand and I felt 8 years old again. There were more files after that. I don't remember making them. The next one was dated October 15th. 3 minutes of silence. And then my sleeping voice whispered, "When?" A pause. Then the woman answered, "When she stops watching." The next file was October 16th. My voice again, thick with sleep. "Who are you?" the woman said. "The one under your bed." October 17th. I asked, "Are you going to hurt me?" And it answered no. "Are you going to hurt my mum?" I already did. That's when I stopped. My mother had a miscarriage before me. I only found out as a teenager, during one of those family arguments where adults reveal everything. A little girl, according to my aunt, stillborn. My mother never spoke about it. I looked at the recorder. One last file. The one my mother begged me not to play. I didn't resist. The file had no date. Just the default name, recording 1. At first, I thought it was broken. No hiss, no static, just perfect silence. Then I heard my mother crying. Not the way she cried near the end, when the cancer had hollowed her out and made everything soft. This was younger crying, raw, panicked. Then a voice. "Please," she whispered, "take me instead." A girl giggled. My stomach turned cold. The girl said, "You'll forget." And then my mother sobbed, "No, no, I won't." "You will." There was then a long silence. The little girl then said, "But he'll remember." The recording ended. I sat there for a while, staring at the tiny grey machine in my palm. I didn't know how long for. The room had gotten darker without me noticing. Then I saw it. A new file had appeared. Recording 2. I hadn't even pressed record. I hadn't touched anything. Timestamp was tomorrow's date. I don't mean the recorder glitched. I don't mean the file name was wrong. The date was May 17th, 2026, tomorrow. My hands were shaking so bad it took me 3 tries to press play. Silence at first, then heard myself. Not childhood me. Me now, older, breathless, crying. "I'm sorry," my recorded voice whispered. "I shouldn't have played it." And in the background something dragged across the floor, slow, heavy. The sound of it made my teeth hurt. And my voice again. "Mum, please, tell me what's up." It cut off. A pause. Then a woman's voice, the same one, the exact one from when I was 8, said she's not watching anymore. The recording ended. I'm writing this from my kitchen table. Every light in the house is on. The recorder in front of me, and I keep looking at it even when I'm looking at the screen. A few minutes ago the file appeared. Recording 3. Tomorrow's date again. I haven't played it, and I'm not going to. I keep thinking about what my mum did, what she must have understood that night when she snuck into my room and took the recorder. How long she watched, how long she stayed awake to stay between me and whatever was talking to me in the dark. Years maybe, the rest of her life, and I undid it in an hour because I couldn't leave it alone. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I can hear something beneath the kitchen floor. Not scratching, not knocking, breathing. So yeah, it's been it looks like it's been 20 or so days since that story's written, and they haven't replied since, so yeah, who knows what happened. So obviously with this being my first episode, all the stories are from Reddit. But if you guys have any cool stories you want to share with us on the channel that you want to read out, just email me with the email in the description and I'll definitely have a look at them. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed these 3 stories and I hope they help you sleep. So don't forget to subscribe and give this video a like.